Your cat walks up to the counter, looks you dead in the eye, looks at your coffee mug, looks back at you, and then with one single deliberate paw sends it off the edge. No hesitation, no regret, just a cat, a falling object, and you scrambling to catch it. It happens with pens, with remotes, with glasses of water, with things that took you effort to place there. And your cat does it like it's the most reasonable thing in the world. The internet thinks it's cats being dramatic little villains. But the real explanation is weirder, more interesting, and honestly more useful than that. Because this behavior isn't random and it isn't spite. It's a window straight into how your cat's brain actually works. To understand why cats knock things over, you have to start with what cats actually are. Cats are obligate carnivores and natural hunters, not in a distant, ancestral sense, in a very active, very present sense. Even a cat that has never spent a day outdoors still carries the full predatory wiring of a hunter. The instincts are intact, the drive is intact. What's missing is the actual prey. Hunting for a cat isn't just about catching food, it's a multi-stage process: stalking, watching, waiting, then testing, then striking. That last part, the testing phase, is exactly what you're watching when your cat taps something with their paw before pushing it off. In the wild, a cat that catches a mouse doesn't immediately assume it's dead. They bat it, they test for movement, they check whether it's going to fight back. That cautious, probing paw tap is a survival behavior. It's how cats avoid getting bitten by something that's playing dead. Your pen isn't a mouse. But your cat's brain doesn't fully distinguish between the two at the level of instinct. Something small, object-shaped, and sitting still on a surface is worth investigating. It's worth a tap. And if it moves, or better yet falls, that's exactly the kind of feedback a hunting brain finds satisfying. The knock isn't destruction, it's a field test. People underestimate how driven cats are by curiosity. It's not a casual interest. For a cat, investigating the environment is a genuine behavioral need. Cats interact with the world primarily through their paws and their mouths. They don't have hands. They can't pick something up and turn it over to examine it the way we do. Pawing at something is how they gather physical information: texture, resistance, weight, how it responds to pressure. Knocking something off a surface is essentially a sensory experiment, and there's something specifically interesting about the edge of a surface. An object sitting at the edge is in an unstable state. Cats seem to notice that. The slight wobble when they tap it, the way it responds differently than something sitting in the center. That variability is engaging to a brain built to detect movement and change. When the object falls, that's new information. A new sound, a new position, something that moved in response to what they did. For a curious, stimulus-seeking animal, that's actually a pretty rewarding outcome. This is also why cats often seem to stare at the floor after something falls. They're tracking it. Processing it, that's not theater. That's a predatory brain following up on a moving target, even one it just created. Here's the part most owners don't want to hear. In many cases, you taught your cat to do this, not intentionally, but cats are sharp observers of cause and effect. They learn quickly what behaviors produce a response from you, and knocking something off a table produces an enormous response. You gasp, you jump up, you say their name. You move toward them, you pick the thing up, you look at them. From your cat's perspective, that is a spectacular result from one small paw movement. Cats are not pack animals the way dogs are. They don't need your presence constantly. But they do have social needs, and they do seek interaction on their own terms. When a cat is bored, understimulated, or wants your attention and you're busy ignoring them, they will experiment with ways to change that. If knocking your phone off the coffee table once caused you to immediately look up, put the phone down and interact with them, your cat filed that away. Not consciously, not as a plan, but as a learned association: this action, this outcome. The cats that do this most frequently, especially when you're in the room, are often doing it as a communication strategy. They've discovered that objects falling gets a reaction, and a reaction, even a frustrated one, is still attention. This is one of the clearest examples of a cat adapting its behavior to its environment. And its environment includes you. Not every knock is attention-seeking. Some of it is just what happens when an intelligent, active animal doesn't have enough to do. Indoor cats live in a controlled environment. The temperature doesn't change. The furniture doesn't move. The smells stay the same. There are no prey animals, no territory to patrol, no real environmental unpredictability. For a brain built on alertness and response, that flatness can become genuinely unsatisfying. Knocking things off surfaces is stimulating in a simple, immediate way. The object moves. The sound changes depending on what it is and what it hits. The outcome is slightly different every time. For a cat that has exhausted its other options, the window perch, the same toy on the floor, the same corner of the couch, a counter full of objects is basically a puzzle board. This is more common in younger cats, high-energy breeds, and cats that are left alone for long periods. A Bengal or an Abyssinian is going to be considerably more destructive out of boredom than a more laid-back breed. But no cat is immune to the effects of a low-stimulation environment. If your cat is doing this mostly when you're not home or in the early hours of the morning when you're asleep, boredom and excess energy are probably the main drivers. It's less about you and more about the cat having nowhere else to put that energy. The biggest misread is spite. People genuinely believe their cat is punishing them. Knocked over your water glass after you were on a call for 2 hours, clearly revenge. Cats don't operate on spite. Spite requires holding a grudge, planning a response, and understanding that your action is meant to cause you the same feeling you caused them. That's a level of theory of mind that cats don't have in that way. What looks like revenge is almost always something simpler. Boredom, redirected energy, or an attention-seeking behavior that happened to coincide with your bad day. The second misread is assuming the cat knows the object has value to you. They don't. Your grandmother's ceramic figurine and a random bottle cap register as similarly interesting to a cat. The sentimental meaning is invisible to them. The physics of the object and how it moves when tapped is what matters. The third misread is responding with punishment. Yelling, clapping, or reacting dramatically when your cat knocks something over is often counterproductive, especially if attention is what they were after. A big reaction is not a deterrent. In some cases, it's the reward. Ignoring the behavior, or better yet redirecting to something appropriate before it escalates, tends to work better. Give them something they're allowed to bat around. Create more interactive play before the times they typically get destructive. The goal is to meet the need the behavior is expressing, not just suppress the behavior itself. So what is your cat actually doing when they look you in the eye and push your mug off the counter? They might be testing an object the way a predator tests prey. They might be running a sensory experiment on something that caught their attention. They might have learned through pure trial and error that this specific action makes you put down what you're doing and look at them. Or they might just be bored and your bookshelf was the most interesting thing available. Usually it's some combination of all of those things. The behavior that looks like pure chaos actually has a clear logic to it once you understand the kind of brain it's coming from. A cat isn't a small, difficult human. It's a predator running ancient software in a modern apartment, doing what makes sense to that software. And sometimes, what makes sense is watching your water glass hit the floor. They're not sorry. But now at least you know why.